Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Life After Corporate. And if you're new to our show, welcome home. This is where we give you the roadmap for success on how to transition from a corporate leader at the top of your game to launching a coaching or consulting practice that brings you at the top of your new game. And no one succeeds alone in this journey. And today, I'm introducing you to a good friend, trusted colleague, Jennifer Frye. She's the CEO and visionary behind Appreciated Asset Business Solutions, which is the premier partner for industry disruptors looking to build their sales pipelines. And if you don't have sales, you don't have a business. So this is the number one place where you need to shore up your assets, your confidence, and your support. And Jennifer's team combines concierge level done for you appointment setting with AI enhanced prospecting to deliver qualified, high converting appointments using their proprietary disruptor designer method. They craft messaging that not only separates clients from competitors, but eliminates them entirely. Jennifer is a nationally recognized speaker, LinkedIn contributor, and connector, and she was named 2023 Dame of the Year and 2024 Women to Know in North Carolina, based in Charleston. She empowers women, especially single moms, to redefine what it means to have it all. Welcome to Life After Corporate, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too, me too. So full disclosure, Jennifer and I know each other from the organization called the Dames, where she was recognized 2 years ago. And we were sitting on a rooftop terrace in Charleston, North Carolina, chatting it up. And I found myself in podcast interviewer mode because I was so fascinated by her journey. And so, Jennifer, I would love for you to start about what led you to leave your corporate position, because you were very successful in corporate, and what gave you the impetus to launch Appreciated Assets?
I've been in a sales role my whole career, and it always been some level of sales director, or salesperson, or sales manager, but always in that role where I would say probably my worthiness at my employer was tied to my last month's production. And when you spend your career like that, it also tends to bleed into your real life, where you really equate your worthiness with your ability to produce. And so when you have a bad month, uh, suddenly you're not worthy and you're not valuable at that organization. So what led me to start my own business is I had doubled my quota the month before I went up to our headquarters in a sales role and was doing quite well. And I was 8 days into the following month. And the president of the company told me that I was a depreciating asset for the company.
Unbelievable. I'm not swearing, but it was uneffing believable that anyone would say that to anyone. It's horrendous. So what'd you do?
So on the drive home, I absolutely refused to ever shed a tear over this person. I will swear either until we stop recording. I decided I would never shed a tear over this again. Um, and I said I was going to create a business called Appreciated Asset. And every dollar, every team member, and every client through the door would be treated with value, appreciation, and respect.
Yeah.
And I think it really wasn't that that's what I was for him. I think that the better I did, the more threatened he felt and needed to kind of keep me in my place, that I couldn't do it without him. That this was the only way, that I had no other options. That was a unique kind of leadership style. But when I realized how toxic it had really become, and how much I was producing, how much value I was bringing, I just realized it was never going to be what I needed to really thrive.
Yeah, and it's so sad, right? It's so sad, So first, before we move on to all the beauty that you've created and I've created in this world after leaving corporate, it's so sad that there it's a place where women have so much difficulty thriving, and where, and I'm sure we have similarities in our upbringing where, love was conditional and based on performance, which makes us high performers. It makes us wonderful corporate employees because we're always looking for the recognition, the praise, to do good, to feel good. And when that praise, that recognition is missing, or even just stripped away in that way through uh, shaming words, shaming attitudes. It's just horrendous. But it's also the moment when we wake up and say, "Oh, I am worth more. I am meant for more. And so I am going to choose to be my own sovereign asset and create something that just works for me." So I love your story. I've lived your story. I'm so happy to share this journey with you. So let's talk about appreciated asset. How long have you been in business? How did you recognize the problem to be solved and the people to be served? What was your journey like? Because we know it's not a straight line, to success, that you're very successful now. You're enjoying a lot of success as a business owner and recognized for that. But what was the journey like in those first couple years?
Well, so like I mentioned, I've always been in sales. So how, as a salesperson and a career salesperson, do you start a company without a thing to sell,
Right.
right? But I had been for decades amazing at selling other people's stuff. And so that's what we did is we started a business that offers a fractional sales support. Um, I started it 8 years ago and worked as a fractional CRO for a couple years for a couple different clients. And then around COVID, really needed to diversify my business model. I was at the time homeschooling my kindergarten student because schools had closed. I was also in the middle of a really messy divorce. Um, and I had my son with me 100% of the time. I couldn't go out because we were in lockdown and I didn't have childcare. And I needed to figure out a better way to make a living. um, and so I was getting a lot of job offers, but no, I didn't really want to go work for someone again. What we had been doing was working. So we developed a done for you appointment setting service. I had someone say to me, if you did for my business what you do for you, we would double next year. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I can do that.
Mm.
I can do that. Let's figure out who we want to call and I'll reach out. And I did that myself until I worked myself into a corner and I had more clients than I had hours in the day. So then I brought on a team. And now I'm completely out of client delivery and I have been for, gosh, probably 5 years. 4. And now my team does all the client delivery. And my team is single moms, military spouses. I love to give opportunities to women who are historically underemployed and have had similar experiences to me, where you can either be a career person or you can be a mom, but you can't be both. And you can't pretend, you can't be in a meeting and mention that you have a kid. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I think that's the coolest thing about COVID too, is that it kind of ripped off that veil that we can be more than one thing. I can be really good at what I do and also a really great mom most of the time. Um, so I think that was like for me a blessing because it helped me really marry my two worlds.
Yeah, and I remember us sharing that story too on the patio, that we were both recently divorced, single moms. My son was a little bit older. He was 12 at that time. And we both prioritized motherhood over a paycheck
Yeah.
and over, the safety and security, which is, doesn't exist in the corporate world either. But it was a pivotal time during the pandemic for many who saw that, especially women who saw that, "Oh, I can bring all of me to the table. I can be a mother, I can homeschool my child, I can launch a business, I can make an income." So, you were right there at the forefront of it all, and you were fractional before it was even a thing. And I love that you're serving single moms and military spouses. My online business manager is a military spouse. She does the same, employs other women who can't hold a regular job because they're moving every 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So, what are some of the mistakes that early entrepreneurs end up making with respect to sales? Because you were a career sales professional, and most people are not. Like, I spent a hot minute in sales. It wasn't my happy place. I didn't thrive under that level of pressure. I much more enjoyed marketing and sales enablement, sales facilitation, and things like that. Um, and it's triggering. It is triggering to go out there and connect with strangers and ask them to have a meeting and then conduct a sales call with ease. So, what are some of the mistakes that you see people making when they try to do it themselves?
I think one of the biggest is that they don't focus on revenue generating activities, especially when you are starting a new business. That is your number one job is to get business through the door. The client delivery, you already know you can do because you're making an offer that resides in your zone of genius. Hopefully, from my experience and all of the uh, consultants and coaches and credible business solutions that I speak with, they know how to deliver, but they get too focused in that, in having the perfect business plan and having the perfect marketing pitch deck. And all. You don't need any of that. If you guys saw the website that I had, it looked like my son had done it for me. I mean, I built it in the middle of the night during the lockdown, literally from GoDaddy. It was terrible. I now have a beautiful new website. Thank you, Kim Russo, that I absolutely love. Um, but I started with very little. And I think so many people get into that like perfectionist state that it's got to be done is better than perfect. And you have to generate revenue or else your stress is going to be through the roof. So that would
Yeah.
be the first. The other place, I'll bring it back to the dames, is I think that women specifically need to find their community.
Yeah.
They need to learn about collaboration over competition, which is the opposite of what we learn in corporate or any time growing up as a woman in this country. We're pitted against each other. And we're taught
Yeah.
that if she wins, it's because you're not. If she's got this, it's because you don't. You can't have it because she does. That's not it at all. But that's how we are really raised to believe. Um, and so if you can get around that and find a community, for us it's the Dames, but there's a lot of other places out there, um, where people will celebrate your wins, the same enthusiasm that you celebrate your own. Because you'll also see as you grow and as you have wins and become more successful, your circle is going to become smaller. The people that you can share that with, where that's a safe thing to celebrate, becomes smaller. Did you have that experience as well?
Yeah, I did. And you raised such a really great point because for women in corporate, there's built in scarcity because there are only so many seats allocated to women around the table. And frequently we're the only ones, and they're typically sales, marketing, and HR, right? So, very few in tech and other um, contributory roles, and it's the opposite in entrepreneurship. I mean, the first thing I did as soon as I left corporate is I called a good friend who I'd worked with who was 4 years ahead of me on the entrepreneurial path, and I said, "First, I need to hire you to tell me what I need to do because all the technology and things," and you're absolutely right. You don't need a fancy logo, you don't need a fancy website, you need a client. You don't have a business until you have a client. And it's a whole new world. It's not like you have a sales force, you have a marketing department, you have people who are doing the work of growing the business for you. Because I ran a line of business when I was with Gartner, but I had a global sales team behind me. It wasn't me out there making the sales calls. And understanding that you learn so much more through referral partnerships, through getting strategies and aligning with people who have been there before you and can show you the ropes and tell you what pitfalls not to fall into, which is the purpose of this podcast, really. Um, so what I'd love to talk about is the whole sales equation, because you don't have a business until you make sales. You're not a sales expert. It's very psychologically triggering. Sales conversations are very psychologically triggering. I've mentioned all the things in prior episodes that hold women back, their self-worthiness, they don't make offers, they don't do adequate follow-up, they just have so much psychology that shows up in the worthiness equation, in their pricing and so many other things. And at the other end of the spectrum, we are pitched every single day by someone on LinkedIn who has an AI tool that's gonna fill your calendar. So for those of you who are listening, Jen just like covered her eyes with frustration because it is true. So we're pitched all the time by these people who can, book our calendars and all these guarantees. What are they really selling? Because I have bought appointment setting services in the past or people engaging, and I almost got banned from LinkedIn for using that kind of technology in growing my following. So what are those people doing, and what are you doing that's different?
So the AI, the bots that are out there, these automations create experiences for your prospects that feel automated. I think the biggest thing that we do differently is we create relationships over transactions. We use cold calling. Here's the deal. I believe that cold calling is the fastest, most effective way to build rapport with your
Cold calling, you're talking about on of telephone.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But most people won't do it. And that's why having a done for you service is phenomenal. The other reason that we are very different is that we work consultatively. So when these AI bots that you hire, they reach out, they say they're with Deb, they say they work with you, or they are you. What we do is we call for appreciated asset. We recommend you. We talk about your value proposition. We talk about successful tricks. But most importantly, we talk about what makes our clients disruptors, what makes them different. And I think that's the biggest difference is that we create an experience that creates continuity throughout. And then when they do go meet with the client, it creates continuity. So it doesn't feel like you're in a funnel. It is simply a very warm introduction. And I want to go back to something else you said, because you talked about the mindset. And I love what you said because it's so true. And I think when you are growing your business, you have to do an equal amount of work on your own stuff.
Mm.
The stories that you've been carrying around for decades that are truth for you, that are in fact self-limiting beliefs or lies that you've been telling yourselves, lies that my mom told me that she did to keep me safe and to keep me protected.
That she was told by her mother, and her mother was told by her mother. They're just ancestral stories.
Exactly. And so you have to be willing to really do that work and then see where it shows up in your business, where it shows up in your personal life. That's a big thing for me because it also helps me communicate a lot better around when I feel triggered. But the biggest mindset shift that I could offer here for sales, because I love sales, I don't have the gross, cringy like ideas about it that a lot of people do. It does feel vulnerable sometimes because you're putting yourself out there. But what if I said that your job is not to sell anyone anything, ever? I don't ever want to close anybody. I want to introduce myself. I want to educate people about who I am and how I can help them, if I can. I want to learn about how we can help them, if we can. I want to learn about great business solutions. But then once that's done, it's really up to them if this is a fit. And if it's a fit, are we going to move forward now or maybe in a few months?
Mm.
But it's not about you. The reason someone says yes or no, it's about them. And so
Yeah.
you can separate that and really just focus on the education piece of it, then it all changes. And again, this worthiness thing, you have to just separate those because it's really good to feel amazing when you have a great month. And man, it does feel really good. But when the month doesn't necessarily go your way, you have to know that's not because you're not worthy. So you have to, it can't mean something.
Yeah, it means nothing about you. And, the audience here has heard me say many times before that entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey. It will kick up all your stuff. It will hold up a divine mirror of, here's what's no longer working for you or the things that we need to shift. And I've gotten to that place where my numbers mean nothing about me personally. It's like, oh, well, that was just the result of what's happening on the outside, what's happening on the inside, what I did or didn't do, what the team did or didn't do. But it absolutely holds no meaning about whether you're successful as an entrepreneur or not.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it does say something though about your alignment.
yes,
When you're
assignment to receive.
Yeah, when you're aligned to receive, when you're aligned to your offer, when you're aligned to your clients or your prospects, then it does all come together. So when it's not coming together, I would spend some time thinking about what is not aligned.
Yeah, that's a great reflection. I love that.
Yeah.
And, I think this is so timely because humanity is so critical in 2026. In this age of AI, where we are in a trust recession already, and we don't trust the technology because it's a bot. And the way I look at AI, it's like the world's lowest common denominator or most common denominator because we're all pulling from the same intellectual resource. And you mentioned disruptors and what is, first of all, what is an industry disruptor in your definition? And AI certainly can't disrupt. So, by its very definition, you are already standing apart from other individuals and apart from the technology generated messaging. But you also how to use AI in a high touch business. So, how do you disrupt and how do you use AI in that scenario?
Okay. So a disruptor is someone who stands apart from status quo. They're so committed to client delivery and to doing the best work for their clients that they are willing to go way above and beyond the industry standard. And that ruffles feathers sometimes, right? But we disrupt lead generation because we call with humans, not bots. All of my humans are US based, full time employees. So we call, and that's how we disrupt. We disrupt because we're consultative. We don't call from your business, we call from ours. It's transparent. It never occurred to me to do it any other way. It never even occurred to me to try to do it that way. Why would I pretend to work for someone when I
Right.
okay. So that's what a disruptor is in my mind. Is saying, is this a truth or is this a story that I've been telling myself? And that's with everything in business. I keep asking myself that question. When I feel stuck, when I feel like I've hit a wall, when I feel like I don't have any options, that's when you know that like you've got stories that are coming up. There's always, always solutions. Being a disruptor is being willing to always look at solutions that are innovative, that are unique, that are different.
Yeah.
Okay. Using AI in business, I've been looking for 2 years for AI solutions for a business. I knew that this is where we were going. This is a big thing. And I was so behind. We weren't using it at all because every AI tool I found for our business was either a chatbot, um, robocallers, something automated that removed the humanness of what we do. But I kept looking, but everything, again, I just kept hitting the wall, hitting the wall. Well, we now have a tool that is AI that allows us to see who is looking for you online by service, not by business name. It's essentially the new SEO. But then we can take that data list, cross-reference it with your ideal demographics. So you only want to work with women that are generating 1 million plus a year, that are in the East Coast, that have the title CEO or founder, right? That's just its staple. Um, we can scrub the data of people looking for business coach by those criteria, and then we do outreach to people. So we now, because of the magic of AI and because of this not quite perfect tool, but we're getting there, uh, because of this tool, we can intercept when someone is actively in the market for your service.
Wow.
And that's going to be the most convertible time to be in front of them, of course. So that's how we use AI in a high touch business. Find AI that enhances the service that you give, doesn't replace the high touch. People hire you for the high touch. They hire you for the results.
Yes.
But my clients, because they want our delivery to be, it's white glove, and they want that experience for their prospects. That's very, very important to them.
Yeah. That makes total sense to me. And, in this age of where, authenticity is almost performative, where I believe that true originality is requires radical transparency. So, and you are radically transparent. I love the disruption in how you're approaching, because I truly believe everyone needs to be thinking this way. So aside from, using appreciated asset to book your calendar with qualified leads, everyone needs to be thinking this way. How am I disrupting the process of reaching out to people? And what you said was so critically important, because I am looking for women who are in that decision process, or they have just left corporate to start their business. That is a transition where you just hope and pray that you're in front of them at the right time, and you're taking that, wish and ideal scenario, and you're putting a system behind it so that it's intentional, that we're getting in front of those people at the time they are making that decision, at the time where they're searching for support, and we're reaching out to them in a way that just recommends you as the best choice for them in that moment. I am loving everything about this. Like, my mind is going, it's like, oh, when can I have Jennifer next year? Um, because it is so true that you need to be in those right rooms. And you are a true disruptor, and I love everything about the originality of how you approach this and how you support people. Tell us some success stories. I'm really curious about, how this has actually worked for some of your clients in real life application.
Well, Um, our newest one is a client that we just onboarded last month. And within about 45 days, he had already signed 2 new clients through appointments that we had created, and was in the black moving forward. So that was really exciting.
Like, he recovered his investment within
Yeah.
45 days.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really good.
Beautiful.
And we see that. But that literally just happened. We have clients that, not just through the new business appointments, but through the strategic partnerships that we connect them with, have, you know, quadrupled their business, because it's not just about, in the games we talk a lot about power partners.
Yes.
That's not as well known outside of our organization. These power people call them referral partners, but I connect our clients also with really strong strategic power partners, so that we get them the new business appointments, of course, month after month. They have those sales conversations, but then they also have this expanded network of referral partners in really synergistic businesses. And some of those have resulted in, one of our clients is now featured in Forbes every single month, because of introductions we made. I had one client who, through an introduction we made, signed her largest client to date, through an introduction that we made for her. We had one client that they were able to double in about 3 months of their client load, their current client load. And that was really unique. We work with usually more established businesses, but this was kind of a newer business that we were working with. And so we were able to quickly make a pretty significant impact for them.
Yeah. So most of, our clients who are just getting started are not going to be ready to hire you.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So this is
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was gonna say you shouldn't.
right.
Like, don't overinvest and don't overcommit. Get that client base strong and repeatable, and then let's talk.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's okay. It's okay. The first thing you do is those first couple years is a lot of discovery of who's an ideal client and who's not. Who do you enjoy working with? Who gets the results from working with you? And then we start honing down to a very, very specific ideal client persona that we're going after. But what's some advice that you have for those who are just getting started who are sales and marketing and service delivery for their companies? What what advice do you give them to just get more comfortable or better at the sales process?
I think resilience is key, and, I you know, that's one of the secrets to our success. We sign a lot of clients because they say, "Look, if you're gonna work this hard to get our business, we know how hard you would work to keep it," which is 100% true. But resilience, and that's not just in sales, it's in all things business because things are gonna come up. Things are gonna knock you to your knees. They
Yes.
will.
And 2026 is gonna be the great shakeout.
I think so too. But I will quote myself because I coined this a couple years ago that success is on the other side of where most people give up.
Mm, yeah.
And so if you just keep going and you know that you can create, I believe in manifestation. It's, I've manifested some amazing things and some terrible things in my life. So I've seen it work both ways. Um, but manifestation plus inspired action. And so really kind of having both of those come together and like we talked about earlier, have an aligned solution is going to be really important. Be willing to pivot, but don't give up. Be willing to pivot. If the market keeps saying we want this and you're like, but I have this, but figure out what it is that you can offer that people need. Or if they're asking for something different, figure out how to make your messaging so they realize that they're not asking for the thing that they need. They need something different and be able to educate them that way. Um, but you've got to just be willing to commit, go all in. You heard, the story about burn the ships,
Mhm.
the army that goes and
No, I don't know that story.
oh gosh, I'm gonna have to send this to you, but there is an army coming from the sea, invading land. I think this was in a Mexican conflict in like the 1800s or early on. I think it was Cortez. And anyway, you were way outnumbered. The guys coming off the boats were way outnumbered. And the captain said, burn the ships. Burn the ships. There's no going back. If
Right.
we, there's no plan B here. And if you really jump all in, your safety net will appear.
Yeah.
Does happen. Every time I take a risk, but it's calculated and educated and, done the research. But every time I go all in, it appears. The universe rewards action.
Yes, when you move, I move. That's the
Yeah.
message of the universe, and that message may come in the form of, a sales coach
Mhm.
or a sales training process that you could take and other people who are there to support you. You can also have peer exchanges. You could have a peer that happens to be very good at sales or has a sales background, and maybe you have something else that that person needs. So even in a rough economy, it's not always about paying top dollar to get the support you need. You can create support in what you started talking about earlier is the community that you surround yourself with, which we have in the Dames.
Yeah, and I'll also say, like you had mentioned earlier, you looked to advice from a woman who was 4 years ahead of you. Be get advice from people that you would trade places with.
Oh, I love that.
Your friends still in corporate who hate their jobs and hate their lives, we're going to tell you just come back. They're trying to keep you safe because they do care about you and it's the only way that they know. But you have to speak to people who are doing it and doing it well and not pretending that everything's perfect, but people who can guide you. So that's something for me. If it's relationship advice or financial advice or career advice, only take advice from someone you would switch places with.
Yeah, I love that too because there are a lot of well-meaning friends when you leave corporate and maybe someone was in charge of marketing and she's giving you marketing advice, but that marketing advice is not going to play in the entrepreneurial space because it's a different kind of B2B. So, with that, Jennifer, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. If someone wants to follow up or follow you on LinkedIn or have a conversation, how do they do that?
So you can get my website, which is appreciatedasset.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. My business is Appreciated Asset, or Jennifer Levy, Lev as in Victor Y. Fry on LinkedIn. And I would love to connect and learn more about your business.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer. It's always a delight to speak with you. You're an aligned sister. I love the way you approach your business and how you've disrupted the sales process by really bringing so much humanity and personal connection into it. And I can't wait for the opportunity for us to work together one day.
Let's do it, Deb. I'm in.
All right, my friends, that's it for this week. I hope you learned something new about the sales process, how to connect with your ideal people, and how to survive those first few years as an entrepreneur. Because remember, you don't have a business until you have clients. And that's what we want for you. We want you to be able to get clients in a way that feels aligned and authentic to who you are. And we'll be back next week with more guests, more advice for you as you progress on this path. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you. Take care.